Your brain is eating itself right now. Not metaphorically, not gradually over decades. Right now, at this moment, if you have not slept enough this week, your brain's own cells are consuming healthy neural connections, digesting them, destroying them permanently, and you cannot feel it happening. In 1964, a 17-year-old boy named Randy Gardner decided to stay awake for 11 days straight. By day 4, he could not recognize his own face in a mirror. By day 6, he was standing at a bowling alley that did not exist. By day 9, his brain was producing psychosis indistinguishable from schizophrenia. He was perfectly healthy before he started. Today, we go inside the human body, hour by hour, day by day, to show you exactly what happens when you remove the one thing your biology cannot survive without. And we start with something that happens in the first 24 hours that should terrify everyone watching this. Day 1. At the 24-hour mark, your prefrontal cortex, the rational brain, is now functioning at the equivalent of someone with a blood alcohol level of 0.10, legally drunk, from simply not sleeping. But here's what makes this dangerous. Your brain has simultaneously lost the ability to accurately measure its own impairment. You believe you are functioning normally. Every objective test says otherwise. Inside the brain, your glymphatic system, the waste removal network that only activates during sleep, has now missed its first full cleaning cycle. Toxic metabolic waste is beginning to accumulate in your neural tissue. Your body responds by flooding your system with cortisol and adrenaline, desperately trying to override the circadian rhythm and keep you functional. It works. For now. Day 2. Your brain makes its first unauthorized decision. Without your permission, it begins forcing microsleeps, involuntary shutdowns lasting between 1 and 30 seconds, where sections of your brain go completely offline while your eyes remain open. You are awake, and then for 2 seconds you are not, and then you are again, and you have no memory of the gap. This is not tiredness. This is your brain performing an emergency override, seizing control of your consciousness to get the maintenance it requires. At the same time, your natural killer cells, the immune system's primary defense against infection and cancer, have dropped by 70%. Your body temperature regulation is failing, and the first peripheral hallucinations begin. Movement at the edge of your vision that has no source. Sounds that exist only inside your deteriorating auditory cortex. Day 3. Something happens at the 72-hour mark that 2026 neuroscience is still struggling to fully explain. Your astrocytes activate. Astrocytes are the brain's maintenance cells. Under normal circumstances, they clean up damaged synaptic connections, removing cellular debris to keep your neural network functioning. But after 72 hours without sleep, they malfunction. They stop targeting only damaged connections. They begin consuming healthy ones. Your brain is eating itself. Functioning neural pathways, memories, skills, processing capacity being dismantled by your own cells. Simultaneously, beta amyloid and tau proteins, the same proteins found clogging the brains of Alzheimer's patients, are accumulating at an accelerating rate throughout your neural tissue. And your hippocampus, the brain's memory encoding center, has largely stopped working. You can still access old memories. You cannot form new ones. Day 4. The boundary between dreaming and waking dissolves. REM sleep, the dreaming state, is supposed to occur only when you are unconscious, but your brain has run out of ways to compensate, so it forces REM activity into your waking consciousness. You are awake, and you are dreaming simultaneously. Researchers documented a subject at this stage holding a 20-minute conversation with a person who was not in the room, defending himself from an attack that was not happening, describing in vivid detail a landscape that did not exist, while standing in a hospital observation room. He was not confused about what he was experiencing. He was certain.
Your amygdala is now in a permanent hyperactivation, constantly firing threat responses to sensory data that does not warrant them. You are in a state of continuous biological terror from nothing. Day 5. The damage moves from neurological to systemic. Your autonomic nervous system, the system that regulates heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, and body temperature without conscious input, is losing stability. Your heart rate becomes erratic, your thermoregulation fails completely, your body can no longer reliably maintain 37 degrees Celsius. Your immune system is now functionally collapsed. The inflammation that your immune response has been generating to compensate for 5 days of crisis is now causing damage of its own. Cytokine storms, the same immune overreaction responsible for the most severe COVID-19 deaths, become a measurable risk. And your insulin response has deteriorated to pre-diabetic levels. Your body can no longer process glucose efficiently. You are starving at a cellular level while eating normally. Day 6. Your brain's electrical activity, measured on an EEG, is now clinically indistinguishable from certain forms of severe psychosis. Not similar, indistinguishable. A sleep deprivation EEG at 144 hours and a schizophrenia EEG produce patterns so identical that researchers in blind studies cannot tell them apart. Your kidneys are showing early failure markers. Your liver is struggling. Epigenetic changes, permanent alterations to how your DNA expresses itself, have begun accumulating. These are not temporary. Recovery sleep will not reverse them. Some of what is happening at 148 hours is permanent. Day 7. 168 hours. This is where the data becomes difficult to discuss. In animal studies, the only research pushed this far, subjects at 168 hours show complete systemic collapse. The nervous system loses regulatory control over basic biological functions, not declining control, lost. The immune system is no longer functioning in any clinical sense. Multi-organ stress is measurable across every major system simultaneously, and the brain at 168 hours has lost the ability to distinguish between internal and external reality entirely, not partially, entirely. Randy Gardner survived 11 days. When researchers asked him afterward what he remembered about the final days, he said he remembered almost nothing. His brain had stopped encoding reality because it had stopped being able to identify what reality was. But here is the finding that changes everything. You do not need 7 days to cause permanent damage. The 2026 research on astrocyte activation, the brain eating process, shows measurable damage beginning at 72 hours. But chronic partial sleep deprivation, sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night consistently, produces astrocyte activation at a slower but equally destructive rate. Over months, over years, the brain eating itself not in a dramatic 7-day collapse, but quietly. Every night you sleep 1 hour less than you need. Slowly, without symptoms you can feel, until the deficit becomes too large to hide. The human body can survive 21 days without food, 3 days without water, 8 minutes without oxygen. Current research suggests the maximum survivable limit without sleep is somewhere between 11 and 30 days, depending on individual biology. Sleep is not rest. Sleep is not recovery. Sleep is the most critical biological process your body performs. And the brain that is telling you right now that you can afford to sleep less is the same brain that loses the ability to measure its own impairment first. It cannot be trusted on this subject because it is the one being damaged. What researchers discovered about recovery sleep after extreme deprivation changed everything they thought they knew about the brain's ability to heal itself. The brain does not simply pay back the debt. What actually happens during recovery sleep after this level of damage is the next video. Subscribe to Bodycode, because the mysteries living inside you are more urgent and more dangerous than anything you have ever been told.